March 1940, afternoon, Kollaa River Front, Ladoga, Karelia, Finland, 40°C. The snowfield was silent, but this was the silence of death. For 98 days, one man had been fighting an entire army, alone, from inside the snow. Counter-sniper teams had been sent specifically to find him. Artillery had hammered his positions. Entire platoons had refused to advance into his zone, and still, he had not been stopped. Then a single explosive bullet cut through the frozen air. It tore through his face, shattered his lower jaw, and dropped him into the snow. Finnish soldiers moved to him. They checked him. They assumed he was dead. They placed his body on a pile of corpses and moved forward into battle. -40 degrees. A pile of the dead. 7 days before the end of the war. And then, a foot moved. 17 December 1905, Rautjärvi, Viapuri Province, Grand Duchy of Finland. Simo Häyhä was born on the 17th of December 1905 in a small farming village in southern Finland. He was the 7th of 8 children in a Lutheran family. His father owned the Mattila farm. The land was cold, silent, and demanding, and it shaped everything he would become. From his earliest years, he was in the forests of Rautjärvi, hunting, tracking through deep snow, learning distances by instinct alone. At 17, he joined the Finnish Civil Guard. He excelled at every shooting competition he entered. He was a quiet man who said little and observed everything. He stood at the back in group photographs. He never sought recognition. No one who saw him working that farm in 1939 could have imagined what the forest was about to ask of him. And no one could have imagined he would say yes. August, November 1939, Moscow, Soviet Union, and Helsinki, Finland. In August 1939, Hitler and Stalin signed the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, secretly dividing Eastern Europe between two dictators. Finland was assigned to Stalin's sphere without a single Finnish voice in the room. Stalin had one demand: surrender border territory near Leningrad, just 32 kilometers from Finnish soil. Finland had watched Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania accept similar Soviet demands that same October. None of those nations remained free for long. Finland refused. Negotiations opened on the 12th of October in Moscow. Stalin attended personally. They achieved nothing. On the 13th of November, Häyhä's unit received mobilization orders. On the 26th of November, Soviet forces staged a border artillery incident near Manila and blamed Finland. The world knew it was manufactured. It did not matter. On the 29th of November, the Soviet Union cut all diplomatic ties. The last door had closed, and behind it was war. 30 November 1939, 6:50 am Finnish, Soviet border. At 6:50 in the morning on the 30th of November 1939, 500,000 Soviet soldiers crossed into Finland. Field Marshal Mannerheim ordered full national mobilization. Finland had 32 tanks. The Soviets had 6,500. Finland had 114 aircraft against 3,880. A nation of 3.7 million against an empire of 105 million. On paper, this was not a war. It was an execution. But Finland did not read paper. It read the forest. Simo Häyhä, assigned to the 6th Company of Infantry Regiment 34 under Lieutenant Arne Jutelainen, was deployed to the Kollaa River Front in Ladoga, Karelia. He picked up his rifle. He walked into the trees. What happened next, the Soviet Union would spend the rest of the war trying to explain. The Battle of Kollaa opened on the 7th of December, 1939. The Soviet 8th Army was driving to break through Finnish lines north of Lake Ladoga. A breakthrough here would collapse the entire Finnish eastern front. Kollaa had to hold. Häyhä carried his issued Sako M2830 Paistekorva rifle, serial number 35281, a Finnish variant of the Mosin Nagant, chambered in 7.6253R. Every other sniper on that front used a telescopic scope. Häyhä did not. He used iron sights, the basic metal sight fitted to the rifle itself. His commanders thought it was a limitation. It was not. A scope forces the shooter to raise his head higher, a larger target. In extreme cold, scopes fog over and fail completely. Sunlight off a lens instantly betrays a position. Iron sights removed every one of those risks. Before daybreak every morning, Häyhä moved silently to his position. Full white camouflage. Soviet troops had none. They moved through white forest in dark uniforms. They announced themselves. He packed snow in front of his barrel to kill the blast cloud a shot creates. He kept snow in his mouth to stop his breath appearing as vapor. He lay motionless for hours in temperatures that killed men who simply stood still. The Soviets could not see him. They only knew he was there when another man fell. December 1939, February 1940, Kollaa River Front. The Finnish army kept meticulous records. What those records showed, nobody was prepared for. By the 22nd of December, just 22 days in, his confirmed kill count stood at 138. The day before, the 21st, he had killed 25 Soviet soldiers in a single day. The sun barely rose above the horizon. He used every minute of light it offered. By January, the number had become something Soviet commanders could no longer ignore. By the 26th of January, the count had reached 199. On the 17th of February, Division Commander Colonel Antero Svensson personally walked to the front line and presented Häyhä with an honorary rifle, serial number 100781, donated by Swedish businessman Eugen Johansson. At that ceremony, Häyhä's confirmed rifle kills stood at 219. Chaplain Antti Rantamaa tracked every count in his diary, with the discipline of a man who understood that what he was witnessing would never happen again. The ceremony lasted 20 minutes. Häyhä returned to the forest the same afternoon. January, February 1940, Kollaa sector. Soviet command posts. Soviet commanders were facing something with no answer in conventional doctrine. One Finnish corporal, 160 centimeters tall, a farmer, was destroying their entire operational presence on the Kollaa front. Whole platoons refused orders to advance into his zone. Officers filed reports of an invisible enemy they could not locate or predict. Fear had taken hold, not in individual soldiers, but in entire units. So Soviet command decided to change their approach entirely. They assembled professional counter-sniper teams, experienced marksmen given one mission: find and eliminate the White Death. Not one succeeded. Then they tried something no single man had ever survived before. They directed entire artillery batteries onto his suspected positions. The forest floor split open, trees collapsed, craters opened in the frozen ground. Häyhä had moved before the first round landed, every single time. Lieutenant Jutalainen, asked whether the Kollaa line could hold, gave the answer that would enter Finnish history forever. Kollaa will hold, unless the orders are to run away. 6 March 1940 afternoon, Kollaa River Front, Ladoga, Karelia 40C. 98 days had passed. The war was entering its final week. In Moscow, peace negotiations were underway, though no soldier on the Kollaa front yet knew it. A Soviet soldier fired a single explosive bullet toward a position in the snow. It struck Simo Häyhä in the face, shattering his lower left jaw entirely. He dropped. Finnish soldiers reached him. The wound was catastrophic. No sign of life. They placed him alongside the fallen men of that day and moved forward into the battle. Then a Finnish soldier noticed his foot move. They pulled him from the pile. He was carried to a field hospital, alive, barely, and placed into a coma from which no one could say he would return. Chaplain Rantama made his final diary entry the following day: 259 confirmed rifle kills. The pen stopped. The record was closed. For the first time in 98 days, the Kollaa forest was silent. 13 March 1940, Field Hospital, Finland. For 7 days, Simo Häyhä lay motionless. The surgeons worked. The country waited. On the 13th of March, he opened his eyes. That same morning, the Moscow Peace Treaty was signed. The Winter War was over. On the exact day that peace was declared, the man who had become its most lethal symbol woke from his coma. Finland had lost 9% of its territory. Soviet casualties exceeded 321,000. Finland lost 25,904. Häyhä reached for a newspaper from beside his hospital bed. He read his own obituary. Reports of his death had spread across both nations. He picked up a pen. He had a correction to make. His private war memoir, hidden for decades, discovered only in 2017, opens with one sentence that carries the weight of everything: "This is my sin list." He estimated he had shot approximately 500 Soviet soldiers. He wrote it not with pride. He wrote it as the only honest thing left to say. Epilogue: The man who outlived an empire. 28 August 1940, 1 April 2002, Finland. On the 28th of August 1940, Field Marshal Mannerheim signed the papers himself. Häyhä was promoted directly from the lowest non-commissioned rank to the first commissioned officer rank, Vinrikki. No Finnish soldier had made that leap in a single step before. None has since. When the Continuation War began in 1941, he requested permission to return to the front. He was denied. His jaw had been rebuilt by surgeons. His face carried permanent scars. He served that war on his farm, in silence. He bred dogs. He hunted moose. He never boasted of a single thing he had done. In 1998, a journalist asked how he had become the greatest sniper in the history of warfare. He said one word: practice. In December 2001, asked if he felt remorse for the lives he had taken, he answered without pause, "I did what I was told as well as I could. There would be no Finland unless everyone had done the same." On the 1st of April 2002, Simo Häyhä died peacefully in Hämeenä, Finland. He was 96 years old. He was buried in Ruokolahti. He had outlived the Soviet Union by 11 years. 500 soldiers. Less than 100 days. One rifle. No scope. No regrets. The White Death. Simo Häyhä. 17 December 1905, 1 April 2002.